Um, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar series, the third talk on Niramai webinar series on women health. We are very, very delighted to have Dr. Sudhakar sir from HCG. He's a breast imaging specialist from HCG Bangalore. He will be delivering a talk on breast cancer detection, but with a new twist, going into a lot of details of how a mammogram is used, how does it look, and ultrasound and thermolytics also. So all of the techniques that are mainly used for breast cancer detection. Sudhakar sir is actually sort of very friendly person. I took the liberty of taking his image from his WhatsApp. So you can ask any question that you have on breast health or imaging issues. He is a breast imaging specialist, and he heads the Department of Ultrasound and Mammogram at HCG Cancer Hospital, Bangalore. As you know, HCG is one of the most prominent cancer chains in India and also many international locations. Dr. Sudhakar actually completed MBBS from Devaraja's Medical College, Kolar, and DMRD from Tumkur, and MDRD also from Texila American University. He's a specialist in breast imaging and intervention. He is also a faculty of Siemens for training in South Asia on elastography, which is one of the latest techniques in ultrasound, and he is a specialist in it, and he provides training to other doctors as well. He is also a faculty on BARD for training on vacuum-assisted core biopsy system, which is again the intervention that the doctor is very specialized in. He has done several presentations in international conferences, and also he's been an excellent partner of Niramai for the last 3 to 4 years, actually more than 4 years. And he's our partner as well as guide and advisor on general breast imaging, as well as several of our trials on thermography. He will also share some results of that at the end if there is time. He actually won the Best Paper Award in World Science and Technology Conference at Amsterdam, and he is the go-to person, an expert for ultrasound-guided procedures like gold fiducial, experiment for CyberKnife, an excision of fibroadenomas, papillomas using vacuum core biopsy. So, Shotet, you may have several technical questions on this. Please go ahead and ask. And but to start with, I really invite Dr. Sudhakar to talk about the general scene of general scene of breast imaging, and also say how thermal imaging is fitting in it. And then, he'll be great, welcome to take your questions. Sudhakar sir, please share your slides, and thanks a lot for agreeing to be here. We will have time for questions at the end. If you have any questions, you can actually post it on the chat session, and Ashwin here is going to sort of watch and then bring it up to our notice. There are also several questions you guys had submitted. We are going to start with that right after Dr. Sudhakar's talk. So kindly share your screens.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope in this COVID season, we're not able to interact directly. We are just doing on a webinar. I hope I'm audible clearly. How many audience are there?
We are at close to 30 people now, Doctor. Okay. 5 on YouTube and 20 here.
So in between, if I get any question, so will I be getting any messages on the chat box?
We will pass it on. Dr. Geeta will be asking the questions.
Okay. So let me start with, I'm doing this breast imaging for almost 10 years now. So this is very challenging since the breast cancer is one of the leading cause of death in India. So that is accounts for nearly 30% of all cancers compared to the other cancers. And also compared to the Western world, what Indian population has is it has much earlier, the incidence rate is much earlier compared to the Western population. Like it will, the age group is 50 to 70 in other countries, whereas for us, it's much younger, maybe 30 to 50 is the age limit of what we can consider here. And other thing is, this is one of the major amount of deaths happening due to breast cancer is also in India. Unfortunately, it is much higher than other countries. So other problem with the Indian population is the treatment protocol. In the treatment protocol, actually, we don't have a professional medical or oncological professional will not come to the picture initially. So sometimes the general surgeon and the gynecologist will jump into that and they will give a little misdirection. There'll be lots of incorrect decisions, inadequate surgeries, and inadequate investigations. So all these will decrease the outcome of the breast cancer treatment. As such, if you detect in early stage, the longevity is very good. The people are seen even for 35, 40 years, they have lead with the cancer. So that is the thing. And the major risk factors for the women is one who have a family history of breast cancer or ovary cancer, and nulliparous means that's women not conceived, and advanced age, and first childbirth after 30 years of age, and absence of breast. These are considered to be risk factors. They are not the absolute factors. And coming to the what's the importance and how we should diagnose the breast cancer itself is first from the patient perspective of view. I don't use the word patient now, since the general population is what women after their cycles, after their menstrual dates, so they have to have an habit of self-breast examination. So I'm just highlighting the techniques on how you do a self-breast examination and what are the symptoms which you can elicit for yourself. Then what next you do, what the other investigations, I will go on. The first thing is, whenever you, after your date stops, maybe a 5th day or 6th day, so that's a time you ideally have your self-breast examination. So what you have to do, you have to stand in front of a mirror. One, you have to keep your arms aside and keep it on the waist and press a little so that the muscle tone of the upper chest become tight so that the breast contour becomes normal. See, normally in that position, in the standing position, you can see what is the counter, what is the shape of the normal breast, you can see. And at the same time, you can also see any skin changes. Next position is you have to lift up your arm so that if there is any undue puckering or dimpling, sometimes if it is hidden, will prop up when you raise your arm. And other thing is you have to have a gentle press on the nipple so that if there is any discharge in the nipple, that has to come out. See, normally the nipple discharge will be there for women, especially when they are feeding the baby, and when they stop feeding the baby up to 2 to 3 years, there'll be a little yellowish or whitish discharge do happens. So don't worry about it. When we make the nipple discharge is obvious is when the lady stopped breastfeeding, and even after 3rd year of breastfeeding, if she continues to have the discharge, and if it is not yellow color, or if it is a reddish, or if it's a greenish tinge, or if it's foul smelling. So all those are the suspicious for yourself. Okay. So, and that is for the post breastfeed. Suppose a lady after not conceived at all, if she has any nipple discharge, sometimes when there's high prolactin levels in the body, there'll be small amount of watery discharge can happen from both sides of the breast. That is easily treatable based on the prolactin levels. And if an unprovoked discharge happens, like without any pressure or anything, if it happens, that is the most of the time they are hormonal. But if it is happening consistently, not related to your dates, then you should be cautious. So there is no age related. If you're not a conceived woman, if it not fed the baby, that means at any point of your life, if you have a nipple discharge, that is suspicious. Okay. So if it is a light clear fluid or a milkish kind of fluid, don't worry about it. If it is continuously coming, then you have to worry about it. You have to consult your gynecologist or radiologist. Next thing, if there is any bloody nipple discharge, that is more suspicious. Okay. Sometimes I have seen a woman, if they press the nipple harder and if there is any crack on the nipple, even that itself will cause a bleed. So you have to have a gentle pressure on the root of nipple so that if there is any secretion, it should come out. So don't pressurize. It should be a gentle touch. Okay. Sometimes even without any pressure, there will be some staining. So if there is a staining of undergarments, that's the time you have to contact your gynecologist or the radiologist. Okay. Now, other examination position is lying down. See, lying down position, most of the time we'll see the lower part of the breast. When you're standing, upper part of breast will be clearly seen. Lower part will be masked out. So when you lie down, the lower part will be clearly flattened out, and you can see, you can palpate the, you can feel the breast contour easily. Here, another important point is always use your one hand to palpate both the sides. If you're a right-handed person or a left-handed person, use your favorite hand and see that there has to be a comparison with the same hand to the opposite side. Okay. So now what are the signs you have to see is if you are feeling any unusual hardness. Normally, after 1 or 2 examinations, after 1 or 2 months of starting a breast palpation yourself, you will understand what is the normal shape, what is a normal consistency, and what is a normal hardness of your breast. Okay. So breast contour and breast hardness is not same for all. Okay. There is a slight difference even in the same woman. Normally, left breast is slightly larger than the left breast. Okay. Left breast is larger than the right breast. So that is universally normal. Very rarely, 5% of people, right breast is slightly larger than the left breast. So don't worry about the size. There may be slight variation. And in this, if there is sudden change in the breast size, that's also of the consideration. Okay. After that, you have to see if you're feeling any hardness anywhere in the breast. See, hardness is most of the time the upper part and the lower part of the breast are the most harder compared to rest of the breast. So you have to compare the hardermost part, that is the outer part of the breast, to the inner part and the lower part of the breast. Any hardness which is more than the upper and outer quadrants considered to be harder. Okay. So that is what you mean by increased hardness. Next is, if there is any abnormal swelling you are feeling, if you are seeing any redness or darkness, and if you are seeing any skin puckering, if there is any scaling, itching, I'll just give example for each. Okay. The important point is pain. See, the pain is generally, it is common for most of women during or just before the cycle starts. Whereas if a pain is present only in one spot, not radiating, not decreasing with not decreasing or not changing, showing any change, that is of concern. Okay. Now I'll show what all the examinations you have to see for. See, there is, if you feel, see, normally this outer part is harder compared to the inner part because the gland tissue is more in the outer quadrant. Okay. So compare this side to this side. So if you feel any unusual hardness, that is of abnormal symptoms. Okay. So if you're comparing the inner part and this inner part, so those should be symmetrical. Okay. And lying down, the lower part, you have to touch on either side to feel for any hardness. Okay. Next is the redness. See, any redness or any change in the color of the skin in a short moment of time, maybe a few weeks to 1 month. If it is few days, most of the time they're infection. Okay. If the change is happening over months or years, that is of significance in terms of cancer. So here you can see there is some redness in this breast area, I think this is just a plus point. This is an infection. Okay. So like this, if you see any hardness or any change in the skin for a long duration, maybe for a few months, then it is significant. Then if you see any nipple or any other breast part, if you see any itching, consistent itching, or any scaling. Scaling is just the skin peels off on its own. If you see any scaling of nipple or areola, that is also of significance. There is when generally when when you get any allergy or anything, sometimes you do get the scalings. That is not considered as this. So when there's a scaling with the redness, then this skin thickening becomes important. Okay. Next is nipple discharge. As I told, nipple discharge, before eliciting nipple discharge, you have to have a gentle pressure on the root of nipple to see if there is any discharge. Okay. If it is automatically coming, no need to do anything. You just have to go to your gynecologist. Suppose you're not able to contact your doctor, you're not close to anybody. Then what you can do is you can go to any nearby lab, ask any lab technician, say that I have some nipple discharge. I just want to test it. Okay. So what they'll give is they'll give a blood. They'll give a slide of glass. Generally, that we use it for testing a blood sample. So that slide, you just bring it home, and if there is a nipple discharge, put the discharge on the slide. Okay. And get it back to the lab. They will examine and give it to you. This is if you are not able to contact any doctor. Okay. If you are able to contact a doctor, they will take care of the rest of things. Okay. Now, if there is any puckering, see, puckering is any bursting kind of thing on the skin, or a dimple kind of thing present on the skin, that indicates that there is underlying hard tissues there. Okay. This is one of the example like that. And sometimes the nipple will get retracted. See, normally nipple retraction is a part of aging process. But when the nipple retraction happens suddenly, like few months or few weeks, then it is of concerning value. So what you have to do is you have to try to make it straight. Still, if it is not coming out, that means the nipple is getting back. So that is the time you have to meet your doctor. Other important point is, as I told, the pain. So when the pain is present only in one particular part, so that is most of the time they are abnormal. Normally, breast pain comes all over. When there is a menstrual pain, it comes all over and uniform. And generally they come just before the date starts in. And once the date goes on, the pain will slowly disappear. So that's how the normal menstrual pain is. But here, if there is a pain because of lump or anything, if it is irritating nerve or something, you'll get a sharp shooting pain in one particular spot. Okay. So that's the time you have to get it tested. Now, there are two kinds of tests generally we prefer. One we call it as screening test, other we call it as a diagnostic test. So when you call it as a screening, so what does the screening mean? Screening means any asymptomatic woman. That means a normal woman who is regularly going for health check and she wants to get it tested, her breast. So that is called screening. And suppose if anybody in the family has any breast cancer or anything, so that's the time they will go for further investigation without any symptoms. That's called screening test. Okay, screening basically for a healthy woman without any problem. Now coming to diagnostic test. Diagnostic test means when woman is already having some issues, some pain or some lump or some issue is there, then she is going for a different type of test. Okay. So now let's focus upon what does a screening test mean. So screening test, generally we prefer ultrasound scan for ladies less than 30 years of age, because once young age, once it is 17 and 18 years onwards, the most common lump or a mass in the breast is fibroadenoma. Okay, so those fibroadenomas are very well differentiated on ultrasound scan. So it is most of time 99%. It is a straightforward diagnosis for us. So no further investigation required. Why we prefer ultrasound scan? Because it's a one-time process, one-time scan, and you will be able to know the margin of the lesion, the content of lesion. So based on those details, in a young age, we can easily say that it is a benign disease. So most of the time, the lump in the breast in an early age, they are benign. So no need to worry about that. And if you consistently feel that there is a mass is felt, it is slowly increasing in size. That's the time you have to get a further investigation. Okay. So you have to, if you have already done a scan, if there is an increase in size of the hardness or the lump, then you get back to an ultrasound again to see if there is any change. What is the change? The change in the size or shape or internal content of the lesion. That will be very well described on the ultrasound scan. Now, coming to the mammogram, mammogram is, and ultrasound scan is everywhere. It's available. You can easily access any diagnosis center. You can just go and ask for ultrasound. They will do it easily. And coming to the mammogram, mammogram is slightly a painful procedure. And again, the mammography depends upon the density of the breast. So what do you mean by density? Density means normally the breast contains two kinds of tissues. One is a fat tissue, other is a gland tissue. Gland tissue is the one which produces a milk. So that gland tissues are more in young age. And as the age progresses, the gland tissue will become less, fat will be more. So in the mammogram, when the gland tissue is more, that means it is a dense breast. When fat tissue is more, it is a non-dense tissue, or we can say a fatty breast. When it is a fatty content in the breast, it is very easy for us to interpret. Up to 90-95% is a sensitivity when it comes to a mammography in a fatty breast. When it comes to mammography in a dense breast, the sensitivity of mammography is 50 to 60%. Okay, so that's why we don't do mammography for less than 35 years of age because of density. Sometimes we may not see anything at all, even in a 50 years of lady with a dense breast. But what I'm talking is a majority. Majority of the women after 35 years of age, the breast density will slowly start coming down. The fat tissue will slowly increase up. So that's why the sensitivity of picking up lesions is high in a mammography for more than 35 years of age. And most of the time, when the density of breast is high, even after doing mammogram of 35 years age, for example, 40 years women came with the mammography with a dense breast. So in a dense breast, we'll miss out some lesion. What we need to do is we have to do an ultrasound, that the radiologist will take a call. But most of us, when there is a dense breast, we do an ultrasound scan to conclude that there is no lesion. Next, MRI scan. So MRI scan, generally we don't do for a screening test unless they have a strong family history. So with a strong family history, we generally do a mammogram, but 1 or 2 years in between, we'll do a mammogram, MR mammogram, because in the MRI, we give a contrast. So that contrast will give an additional information so that it will be useful for us. Next, thermography. So thermography is a recent technique which is evolved now. Previously, it was there 2 decades back. It is just like a thermography, what you have seen in the airports and all. But this thermogram, what we are using is an high-end resolution where we have 4 lakh colors in it. So the sensitivity of the thermography, what is used here is very high. So what it detects is the heat generated by the body and it emits through the skin. So on the surface, on the skin, what is a heat pattern we call it as? What is a heat pattern generated by the body that will detect? So that will tell us what is the abnormality inside the skin. Okay, I'll show you some of the examples and what we have done in the thermography. Now, let's come to the diagnostic breast cancer. So when a lady already comes with a lump, then straight away you can go for an ultrasound scan. Almost 90% of time we'll get an answer. Rest 10% of people where there may not be a mass, that there will be a mass but cannot be picked up on ultrasound scan. So it happens in two situations. One, when there is only microcalcification, we will not see it on ultrasound scan. When there is a mass with calcification, we'll see an ultrasound scan. So that's why we always do a mammogram followed by an ultrasound scan, so that the 10% gap is covered. Next, come to the mammogram. Mammogram is preferred in a known case of any lump, any abnormality comes in. There are two advantages. One is when you do a mammogram, the whole breast will be covered in one view. So we will get to know which area to be focused upon. Okay, there are some additional investigation also can be done once we see what is the lesion. Next comes to the MRI. When we already know there is a lump is there, we send for MRI to see if there is any additional lesions are there. For example, a lady comes with an obvious mass in the breast. She want to, and the lesion is very small, let's like 2-3 centimeters, and she don't want to remove the whole breast. Now, what we do is that breast conservative surgeries. So in breast conservative surgeries, we will just remove the mass. We will not remove the whole lump. Such scenarios, we have to rule out, is there any other lesion other than that in the same breast? So such patients will subject for MRI to see if there is any additional lesions. And other thing is, clinically, if it is a very obvious mass, so surgeons can go for needle biopsy, or if it is very small, they'll refer it for radiologists like us for a needle biopsy, where we'll do an ultrasound guided needle biopsy giving the local anesthesia, so it becomes a painless for that. And next, other diagnostic investigation is the PET CT scan. Basically, this PET CT scan is for staging of breast cancer. It is not for detection of breast cancer. So there is already a MRI, mammogram is there, ultrasound is there, that will detect whether tumor is present or not. Okay. Once we have detected it, then it will be subject for PET CT scan to see how far the lesion is spread. Okay. Whether it is spread to the armpit, whether it is spread to liver, lungs, all those organs we'll check. So that is a whole body PET CT scan. That is only for the staging, not for the diagnosis. This is a regularly used mammogram. So here the breast is placed between the two paddles. This is a X-ray tube. This is a detector. Breast is placed here, and we apply the pressure, and the X-rays will be passed from above downwards. So we'll get an image that will interpret. So the main here, the problem is the pain because of the compression. That's why majority of women, they are not comfortable doing this mammogram. But it is very useful for us when you come for a comparison. So this is, again, in the mammogram, there are several types are there. Okay. So I just want to brief about what is those types. One is the conventional mammogram, where we used a cassette. That cassette we used to develop in a dark room, and we give that is a conventional mammogram. That is a dark room cassette we develop and give it to you. Next comes is a computed mammogram, where instead of the dark room cassette, that is the old film cassette, we make it into an electronic cassette. Okay, so that electronic cassette is converted into an image. Okay, that's why it's called computed mammogram. See, in most of the diagnostic centers, what we have is a computed mammogram that is called CR mammogram. So they name it as digital. Actually, this is not a digital, it is a digitalized mammogram. That is not a true digital mammogram. What is a true digital mammogram is there is no cassette involved. Directly, the image comes from the X-ray and falls on the detector. So because it falls directly on the detector, the resolution is very high, and we can zoom the image up to 10 times. So zooming is very essential for us when you are suspecting small hidden lesions. So that time we may have to zoom the images. So when you zoom the digital image, the resolution will not be dropped. Again, we can change the contrast. And here in the stereotactic digital mammogram, we can also do a stereotactic biopsy. We can do a stereotactic wire localization. And the latest one, what we have is digital tomosynthesis. This is similar to digital mammography. Only thing is here, instead of standard views, we take a thin sections, 5 mm or 2 mm sections of breast, so that you will get a CT-like images which will fuse together, and image will be interpreted like just like a digital mammogram. The advantage of this one is it has a very good contrast, and here we get the unoverlapped tissues. That means normally when we give a compression, there will be lots of tissue will overlap on each other. Here, when you take tomosynthesis, there is no overlapping of tissue. So tissue comes as thin slices. The advantage for us is when it is a thin slice, not a overlap tissue. Such cases, we can detect a very small lesion with high precision. Okay, so that's why the precision is as low as 1 mm compared to the digital mammogram, it is 5 mm. So here, digital tomosynthesis does not require a spot compression also. Sometimes when we have some doubt during a mammogram, we'll do the spot compression. That is a small one more compression paddle is there that we will apply with far more pressure, so that we'll get a zoomed image that will interpret called spot compression. That will detect, that will do if there is any dilemma, if there is any doubt in the lesion, if there is any very much dense tissue, underneath the dense tissue, sometimes we'll lose some small lesions. Such cases, we'll do a spot compression. Now, the major advantage of the mammogram is detection of microcalcifications. Okay. So this microcalcification is seen only and only in mammogram. It is not seen in ultrasound if there is no mass. It is not seen in mammogram. It is not seen in PET-CT. It is not seen in the routine X-ray also. It is seen only in mammography. So that is where the mammography scores as a primary screening tool in terms of breast imaging. Okay. And other important point is comparison. See, once we get on images, we generally women comes for a follow-up once in a year, once in 2 years. So they will get the previous films. That main important for us is any tissue, breast tissue, with the age, it has to shrink normally. If this is not shrinking in size, instead of that, if there is a new tissue which has developed, which is new density has developed, that will suspect. That is the earliest detection of breast cancer for us. Okay, so that's why whenever you're meeting your doctor, if you already done a mammogram or ultrasound, always carry with it and show them that this is the previous, I just want to compare with this. So it is easy for us to compare also, and it is useful for you also. Okay. The other important is inter-observer variation is less. That means a two radiologist report are almost similar when they are doing a mammogram reporting. The disadvantage is it has a very low radiation. Radiation is not much. If I can give an example, it is one X-ray exposure, one mammogram view will give around 0.5 millisieverts. That is the dose of radiation for one X-ray view. That is equivalent to 16 hours of international travel. When you're going in a flight, you also get the radiation from the cosmic rays. So that rays is what you are detecting from the cosmic rays. That's also radiation. Similarly, we get very low radiation in the mammogram. So don't worry about it as a major threat, because I have seen many women, just because it is a radiation, they'll get scared and they don't want to get radiation. That's what they say. But this is a very low dose radiation. So this is not risking your life. Okay. When it comes to an advantage, disadvantage is very less. less is only the low dose radiation and the painfulness. And the pain is also earlier, we used to have a conventional mammograms, CR mammograms. So those mammograms, the machine cannot give a optimal compression. What is optimal compression is a minimal compression with a maximum resolution is called optimal compression. So when we give a compression, there is always a pain. If we give a less pain, if we give a less compression, the tissue will get more overlapped and it is difficult for interpretation. So we give more compression so that the interpretation is easy for us. In the digital mammogram, what we do is we'll give optimal, there is something called AEC, automated exposure control. So that small dose will be given to the, before giving an actual image, that will be given to the X-ray, given onto the breast. So that will calculate what is the minimal dose of radiation required to get the optimal image. So that is there only in the digital mammogram. So that's why when you're doing a digital mammogram, the pain is less and the radiation dose is also less. And whenever there is a high densities are there in the breast, so this will obscure the small lesions. So that's why this is having some disadvantages. And coming to the ductal lesions, so ductal lesions, most of the time we'll miss out in the mammogram. So that's why we always prefer a ultrasound scan. Next is ultrasound scan. This is very commonly performed, painless, no radiation. We'll just apply a gel on the breast. We'll keep a small ultrasound probe and we'll just move from upward downwards. So we'll get an image. Based on that image, we'll give a interpretation in terms of the, we'll describe the lesion. So when we describe the lesion, we'll categorize the lesion for which category it belongs. So we'll categorize into five types. One is, I'm not going much detail, just remember two things. One is a benign and the other is a malignant. So benign means they are BI-RADS 0, BI-RADS 1 and 2, they are benign. They don't give any problem to you. That is what you mean by benign. When it comes to BI-RADS 4 and 5, that means there is a suspicion of malignancy. 4 is a low suspicion, 5 is a high suspicion. So in between that is a BI-RADS 3 category where it is a borderline disease. We are not sure whether it is a malignancy or benign. In such lesions, we'll ask them to come after 6 months to see whether it is increased or decreased in the size or shape. When it is increased, we'll upgrade to BI-RADS 4 and do a biopsy. When it remains the same or decreased, we'll put it as BI-RADS 2 and we'll ask you for a routine check after 1 year. So this is, and other advantage is when a same radiologist is interpreting, doing a scan again, this is very useful for comparison. So this, the major disadvantage with ultrasound is inter-observer variation. Some radiologists say that it is benign, BI-RADS 2, some will say it is 3, some will say as 4. So 3 different radiologists can give 3 different opinions on the same lesion. So that is a variation based upon the experience of the lesion and based on the even the ultrasound scan. If the high-end equipment is there, you will get a good image quality and your interpretation is also good. Next is ultrasound elastography. This is a recent techniques in ultrasound scan. So this will give much more information than the regular ultrasound scan. It is not required for all cases. This is required for when there is a suspicion of any tumor, when there is a small hidden lesions are there, when small hidden lesions like less than 1 centimeter, and it can also detect isoechoic masses. So these masses, they will generally miss out on the ultrasound and mammography. But this requires a good experience and good interpretation also it requires, and it is not available everywhere. So next is the MRI scan. So MRI scan is required for the women who have a strong family history, and that's also not required every yearly. Whenever there is once in 2 years, you can get a mammogram, and once in 3 years, you can get a MR mammogram, and every year you can get a ultrasound scan. So you can alter all 3 modalities if there is a strong family history. Don't stick on to one modality. Okay. And MRI scan we do for women who are planning for breast conservative surgery, so that they can a surgeon can see if there is any other new lesions which are much smaller or not able to see it on ultrasound or mammogram, that we can detect in the MRI, because we give a contrast to that. And ultrasound scan, I think this I told, it is painless, no radiation. The disadvantage with ultrasound is it gives more false positive findings, and ductal lesions sometimes secretions and the mass it's very difficult to interpret. Coming to thermography, as I told, this will detect the heat pattern emitted by the body and will detect on the surface. Since it is a heat we are detecting emitted from the body, we are not inducing anything. So there is no radiation involved. It is non-touch. It is non-touch, no radiation, and even from the distance also we can catch up. Okay. So it need not contact the skin of the patient. Okay. So how it works is, see, normally when there is a tumor growth is there, whenever the tumor is growing, it takes more of nutrition. It gets more of blood vessels will pump into that. So more amount of heat is generated from that area, from the tumor area. So that will come to radiate to the surface. So that is what we catch up. So this is a typical picture which appears on the mammogram. Earlier, the thermograms, the resolution was very less. Now, with the use of artificial intelligence, we can give a better interpretation of the thermal images. Okay. So here we have some experience upon the thermal images. I'll show you that. So this is the advantages. It is non-contact, non-invasive, and privacy is maintained. So when we put a curtain and the technician will be behind the curtain. So only women will be there in that area. So her privacy is totally maintained. And it works for all age groups, and it is very affordable. And especially since it is a very small handheld device, you can take it anywhere, to your office, whenever any project is going on from the field. So we can also take this. So this is very affordable for when you are scanning a large number of population, and even when you want to do a small number of population also, we can just take it to the room and do it. Okay. So this is more versatile. And this is how you get different, we obtain the frontal view, lateral, and 5 different views you obtain. Once we obtain the images, we'll get the heat map like this. We'll get a heat pattern like this. This is one of the example on how we detected the tumor on this area compared to this area. There is some tumor is there. This is also detected on the mammogram as well as on the ultrasound. So this is one of the interpretation of the thermometrics. And here we did a study on 149 patients. So in that we compared the mammogram versus the thermography. So here the thermography is more sensitive than the mammogram. So sensitivity is up to 98%, whereas the mammography is only 62%. The reason why the mammogram is less, because the density. So density of the breast vary from different age groups. And as the age is advancing, it is fatty breast, so it can detect much better in mammogram. But in a young age group, that is between 30 to 40 years of age, generally they are dense breast. So even after doing a mammogram, we complement with ultrasound scan. That's why we'll improve the sensitivity. Otherwise, only do a mammogram, sensitivity is always less in a dense breast. We did another study which is going to get published in ASCO. So this is a study on 769 patients. So here also we got very good sensitivity even in symptomatic and asymptomatic patients. So in the symptomatic patients, it's 91%, and in asymptomatic patients, it's almost 98%. To conclude, the health, what the God has given, He has given, but how you maintain it's in your hand. For a woman, it is your own hand, your own breast. You have to feel it. You have to maintain it. So majority of women, what they does is once they complete the family, breastfed the babies, they will ignore themselves because they are busy in their family and they're busy in the kids. So in those women, they need to spend 5 minutes every month check your own breast. So that is a self-breast examination. Make a chart. Suppose you are getting a hardness in one particular part of the breast. You want to see it for the next month. You mark it on a calendar or somewhere. You check for the next month, see if there is any change. If you feel it is increased, then you meet your doctor. Otherwise, you just follow up for 6 months, get your annual health check. And don't afraid of getting investigations. Don't think that mammography is the only investigation. You have a thermography is there, which is non-radiation, non-contact. That's a screening tool. If you, that also you can do, or you can also do an ultrasound scan. And ultrasound scan is very easy, no touch, no pain. So you'll get very good interpretation as and when you're doing a scan. And when you have a symptomatic patients, you always have to get a ultrasound scan or a mammogram. And remember, if there is a nipple discharge, generally mammography will fail in 30% of patients. Okay, so if a lady has a nipple discharge, straight away she can go for an ultrasound scan. Along with that, if you have an elastography, that is the best. Okay, because even ductal lesions sometimes missed in MRI also. So you need not have a high-end investigation for all symptoms. If there is nipple discharge, just a simple ultrasound scan with elastography will give a 100% accuracy on what is the problem. And come to a point on the majority of lady who have a strong family history, or suppose one lady has directed the breast cancer. What should she tell to the others? The siblings has to get a mammogram or ultrasound scan, and their daughters has to get ultrasound and mammogram. When they have to do, if a lady is less than 35 years of age, let her go for a routine mammography every yearly. If she is more than 35 years of age, let her go for a mammogram along with that ultrasound scan. And if she is getting a routine, still it is coming normal, once in a 3 years or 4 years, she can get a MRI mammogram instead of just ultrasound and mammogram. Okay, so remember, the breast cancer is very easy to treat if you detect very early. With all these modalities, ultrasound, thermography, ultrasound, mammogram, MRI, PET, all these investigations are there to help you. Only thing is, you have to come to us early. If you come early, you will come in a stage 1 where the treatment is very simple. We'll just remove the part of lump. We'll not remove the whole breast. Part of breast will be removed, and you will have a fantastic result. You will have a normal life. Okay. Suppose you ignore that. If you get some investigation, you will get some reports and you will get stuck up in your mind. Don't go with that. Whatever it is, you can't ignore it. You clear your mind, whether it is benign or malignant. If it is benign, as per your doctor, follow the protocol, don't do anything. If it is a malignant, you follow the protocol and get the treatment. So early treatment, early detection is the key for the best treatment. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sudhakar. I think it was wonderful, detailed information about the different tests, beyond, of course, Nirmay test as such. So maybe first we will open up questions from the audience right here in Zoom. We have 10 minutes for Q&A, and after that I will go to the submitted questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhakar. Any questions? You can unmute. I'm not sure whether you're able to unmute. Let me see. Okay, so let me unmute all. Can you check? You're able to ask any questions. Okay. No questions. I'll go to the submitted questions. Actually, it's I think one of the audience here has asked anonymously, what are the screening recommendations for a woman aged between 25 and 30 years?
I think 25 to 30 years, you can do an ultrasound scan. You
Yeah.
can do a thermography. In addition to that, you can do an ultrasound scan.
Yes. And I also want to sort of add that given the COVID situation, we have also made, this screening possible at home. So you could come to niramay.com and register for home screening. It's available in 4 cities today: Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, yeah, and also we'll be starting in Chennai, another place, and Orissa as well, Bhubaneswar. So one could do that. So there is, yeah, there are some questions about Niramai that they have posed also. At what stage does Niramai solution detect cancer? Of course, I just want to say that in the studies, we have seen that we have been able to detect 4 millimeters of cancer and also benign at that location. So that would fall under stage 0 or stage 1 as per TNM, I guess.
Okay, here I got one question on why was the awareness about breast cancer was low in India and how can we improve it? This is a very common question. The awareness comes by education. Every pregnant woman, when they come for a delivery, she should be given an education. And every woman, every girl, when she becomes a woman, that's the time you have to educate. That is a mother's responsibility to tell to her daughter. That's when it starts in. So she has to tell her daughter that there is something. So there is some changes will happen with the age, and any hardness or anything that needs to be changed. That is where we need to have this education program going on. That will give an awareness. Once you give a awareness, we have lots of options. If there is a mass screening is required, we have thermography, we have mammogram. If it is a single person, we have an ultrasound scan. So once it comes to know there is some problem, we have a solution. So key thing is educating that the disease can be treated if we detected early.
Yeah. Also, I think there are more questions on the chat. I think Dr. T.G. Sudha is asking if there's any chance of relapse after surgery. I guess late detection has more chances of relapse to you. So are there any recurrence possibility after a treatment is the question. Hello. Sir, I think, 1 second, sir, you're muted.
Okay.
Okay.
See, recurrence will happen in two ways. One is recurrence on the operated area or in the operated breast, or the new disease on the opposite breast. Okay. One is if the recurrence in the same breast usually happens when the disease is not completely under the control. That means if the surgery, sometimes what happens is some people, they will just do a surgery. They may not do a radiation or chemotherapy. So that a partial treatment will give rise to a recurrence. Sometimes even after everything, there may be recurrence in a different area in the same breast. So that is also possible. And we have seen a recurrence in the opposite breast after 5 or 10 years. Okay, so that's why once you got treated with it, don't neglect that it is gone. You have to have a follow-up every year. You have to follow up and even on the other breast also. So even other breasts can also get the recurrence, new disease.
Yes, yes. So there is, I guess there is a comment about many portable devices available in market for screening. Ms. Annapurna, I don't think there's like many devices available today, and and most importantly, the community has to pick up. There should be sponsorship for taking the screening devices to the villages and so on, because we cannot charge them. We are facing this even at Niramai. So basically, we need sponsorship for doing it. As far as possible, Niramai has subsidized the screening, but we need somebody who will come up and then, provide sponsorship for doing the screening in the rural areas. So there is one question, I think even Dr. Sudha has asked here, it has been also posted earlier. My aunt is suffering from breast cancer, underwent surgery last month. Now she's undergoing radiotherapy. How long will it be till she's of normal health, and she's 58 years old is a question here.
So again, it depends upon the stage when it is present. whether how many lymph nodes are involved in the axilla, is there any spread elsewhere in the body? If it is not spread elsewhere in the body, if it is present only in the breast and the armpit, and that would have taken by the surgery. And if she is going for radiation, that means it is in a controlled disease. So after the radiation, there will be some side effect on the skin thickening and all those things will be there. That will be there for 1 or 2 years, that hardness and thickening. So after that, slowly the breast contour, the thickening, breast becomes soft. So all those things will come down. We have to watch for, again, as we said, recurrence in the operated site. Every yearly we have to follow it up. Okay. So most of time, if it is a complete treatment, recurrence will not happen. If it happens, it may be in the other site.
Yes, sir. So there is a similar question about post-treatment. What kind of screening that has to be done after a treatment, especially for a young lady who has gone through this surgery? What kind of precautions have to be taken? What kind of screenings have to be done for a person who has just recently had a surgery, and also younger women, like maybe in 30s?
See, after surgery, what happens? Generally, we take a tissues from the skin level, from the breast tissue. We'll go up deeper to the muscle. We'll also take a part of the muscle sheath also. Okay, we'll call it as fascia. We'll take out that fascia also. So what happens is there will be some tightness of the chest. They cannot use their arms as frequently or as comfortably as before. So that is because of muscle tightening on the scar. Okay, so that is a part of the surgical sequel. What you need to do is have some good physiotherapy for that arm. So the hand movements will come back to the near normal. Okay. Second thing is you have to do an ultrasound. If you, as you mentioned, it's young age, so you have to have an ultrasound at least every year. Initially, we'll start every 6 months since it's a fresh from surgery. We'll do every 6 months. Then we'll switch on after 1 or 2 years. We'll switch on to every 1 year. Once you attain like 35 plus, that's the time we'll start doing a mammography along with the ultrasound scan. And sometimes within the based on the severity or the grade of the disease, we may even do PET CT scan also. That is for the follow-up.
Yeah. Of course, you can do thermalytics as well because we give scores, and these scores change over time. Like, if there is a decrease in health, you can see increased scores also. And this is also something we have done multiple times for a single person as well. Just to add and plug in. Sir, one last question, given that we are already at 5 o'clock. And how often do women above 60 years need to be screened? This is also an anonymous question that has been asked.
See, ideally speaking, it is every year. But the Western population, there the screening is done by the national government. So their calculation is different since it is sponsored by the government. But in India, a situation is different. It is voluntary. We have to go. So always better to do every year. As the age advances, the risk is higher. So it's better to do every year.
So with that, again, calling everyone to do monthly, detection of symptoms, like Sir mentioned very detailedly how to do this checking for symptoms with self-breast examination, and also calling upon all of you to create awareness around you for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is starting October. Of course, Niramai is also doing a lot of these initiatives next month in October, and also a lot of discounts coming in, for that. Any one last question on the chat before we really thank Sudhakar, sir? Yeah. Okay. So any other question live? Any final comments from you, sir?
See, I always say that health is in your hand. It's up to you. You maintain the health, so you'll live longer. So have a good health in your shape. Have a good food habits. Walk around, laugh around. Okay. So have a sound mind. So you'll have a good, healthy life.
Thank you very much, sir. It was an excellent educative and learning experience for all of us. Even I learned multiple things, though I've been interacting with you for multiple years now. Thanks again for your wonderful talk. And I see a lot of, thumbs up around. And thanks a lot. Let's give him a big hand.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ashwin, for coordinating. Thank you
Thank
all
you.
for attending. And please attend every Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. So every last Friday of the month, 4 to 5 p.m., we will get experts such as Dr. Sudhakar to address your queries. Thank you so much for attending.